Hello and welcome to Alog Radio. This is the radio about conversation in the world. Although it's not a real radio station right now, it's on YouTube and it's on the public domain. Anyone can watch it. Please give your support if you can, and like this video and wherever it appears. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. It's free. You just press the subscribe button, and if you're on Facebook or Twitter, then just follow the page it's attached to, and that would be a big help. And hopefully in the future we'll be able to cover all the big stories, and I'll be able to talk about other people's stories. It's going to be another talk radio. We'll see how far this can go, and see how far this can make progress. In the world today, we've been discussing the political situation in the world, and also a few issues that are happening in the world today. It's not reported in the news at the moment, but if you go to somewhere like Peru or anywhere in the Pacific Rim or in hot countries, you're probably going to find it's flooding right now. You're getting heavy rain because it's late in the summer. You get this heavy rainy season, and the issue with that is often people lose their homes, like people that have buildings on the riverside, and it will fall into the river, and it would be destroyed. Like their home would be destroyed, or damaged in some way. And what I was wondering is, when this heavy rain is such a nuisance to people, but surely there's a way of taming it. Hear me out here. When a flood starts, it always starts in a river normally. So what will happen is, unless it's like a tidal surge from a hurricane, then it's the ocean. But usually when you get a flood, it's the river bursts its banks. And the reason the river bursts its banks is because there's too much water entering it. And what I was thinking was, if every building had water tanks inside it between the floor spaces, so like there'd be a whole layer of the floor where it's just a tank, and when it rains it would fall on the roof and it would fill up the tank, and then when you flush your toilet, you'd flush your toilet with the water from the rainwater. And when you wash your clothes in the washing machine, you'd wash your clothes with the rainwater, and you would shower with the rainwater. Then you could even add drinking water as long as you clean it, because things fall on your roof, dust and microbes and things that could be harmful. So what you'd do is you'd have one unit that cleans the water and for the drinking bit, and the rest of the house in the kitchen, and then the rest of the house is just you can just use it, because you can shower in rainwater with no worries at all. And then that would slow down, I believe, the flow of water into the river, because there's no runoff then. It's the runoff that contributes the most to the river, because the water would fall on the street, it would pour into the sewers, and it would go straight into the river, and then it would pour into the houses and go into the river as well. And also, if you're above the roads, you can have something suspended above the roads, and that thing could collect the water, the rainwater, and then it would use that water as well. It would deliver it to the houses, and it would use it to flush toilets. And then you go to that river, and it's still swelling up, and it's not bursting its banks, because there's so many water tanks that are getting in the way of the flow of the water, and then the water still flows. It flows to a treatment plant instead of to the river. Some of it still gets to the river, obviously, because it's only like the residential zones that are taking the water. So that's one thing. Another thing is that today Theresa May went to meet Donald Trump, and I'm guessing it's for a trade deal. And the question I ask is, do we really need trade deals? Because if we needed trade deals, then you have to ask, why do we need trade deals? Because the tariffs around the world are quite low at the moment, from what last time I checked. If the tariffs are already low, then why do you need a trade deal? Why don't they just pay the tariff and then just send the goods in and cut it out of their price, or just add the tariff to their price? You have to wonder things like that. And also, my worry is, with a trade deal, you always have a side effect, and that's like a loophole for big companies or multinational companies to cheat the tax system. So maybe having a trade deal is not always necessary. I think what's more important, a trade deal or stability? That's my question. I think the most important thing a country needs is stability. You can have no trade deals at all, and it can have a good stability, and it can be a good place for companies to make things, and it can sell with itself, and it can export some things, and that's fine, and it wouldn't make the maximum profit. But if that country has no stability, then there's no trade deal that can save that country. You can have a trade deal with every country on Earth. You can have all the best trade deals, but if there's no stability in your country, then it was no good to you anyway, because the companies that are there won't be able to prosper. Like when they put their money in the banks, the money disappears. When they make things, people stealing their things. All these things, if your employees, if half of them are going to prison every day, or you can't find anyone to work for you, or you can, but they're asking for too much, and then they're putting pressure on you to charge way too much, like maybe 4 times the minimum wage or whatever. And you have this instability. Then you're going to look back and say, okay, what's more important, stability or a good trade deal? And I say stability, in my opinion. I think you need stability, but you don't need a trade deal. You can survive without one, without any trade deal at all. Especially this day and age, when the tariffs are already low around the world. They're quite low. Some of them are like 5%. 5%, you wouldn't even notice that. If you export, you got charged 5% for exporting goods. I don't think you'd even notice that much money. It's nothing. You can just add that to your price or your costs, or claim it back as tax or whatever. So what I'd say is, yeah, and there's been a few discoveries in the news as well. There's good news in it. That's neutral news, by the way, what I said about the meeting, because it's not good or bad. You can go either way. The good news is some scientists believe they've observed metallic hydrogen. And for those of you who don't know, metallic hydrogen is like a form of hydrogen that behaves like a metal. It's like really dense, and some believe it conducts electricity, and they reckon it probably has like a metallic look to it as well. And the reason it's metallic is because it's under pressure, and they reckon that Jupiter, the whole core of Jupiter is made of metallic hydrogen. They're not. There's no agreement of whether it's a liquid or a solid. What they do know is it's very dense, and it doesn't have the same properties as normal hydrogen. And that's not the first time it happens. I mean, there's so many materials that have multiple properties in this world, like hydrogen, like carbon. It comes as diamond. It comes as um, uh, graphite. It comes as carbon on its own, like charcoal. There's so many forms of different things, and it's the same material. So that's an interesting thing to take note of. That you can have a material, the way it's connected to itself, the way it's arranged, could affect the way it is. What I'm trying to say really is we're living in an age where we're making more and more discoveries, and there's more interesting things happening. So you've got to keep our chins up and keep looking at all these things. The good news is the news where discoveries are made, and it's interesting and something it might be useful to us. Like they're working on cures for cancer. That there's like literally the curing cancer. I'll talk about this more in my next video. Is both the most simple thing and the most complex thing to do when it comes to curing diseases. Because all you've got to do is you've got to kill all the cancer cells without killing the healthy ones. And that's the idea behind it's simple, but the actual way of doing it is very complicated, because it's very hard to kill cancer cells without killing healthy cells, or at least some of the healthy cells. But we'll talk about that in the next video, in the next broadcast, maybe tomorrow or the next day when I'm free. Discuss it in more ways. And once again, I ask if you're listening now. Thanks for listening, and I'd like to ask if you could press the subscribe button, and that would be a big help, and it would help this virtual radio to grow bigger and bigger, and maybe one day it could become a real radio station. Let's see how far we can push it, and we can bring all the stories of this world, and it'd be another talk radio. There's not many of them about. There's more music radio stations, and if you're like me and you like talking more than listening to radio, then this is the radio station to listen to. So subscribe, or if it's on a page, follow the page, and like the video wherever it appears. And I never ask for money or any kind of funding. Just those things that are free, and help it to grow. And I wish you all the best. Until next time, goodbye.